tonight. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is in Saskatoon ahead of the final weekend of the election campaign. Saskatchewan Marshals are ready for duty, and how U.S. government policies are impacting Canadian 2S LGBTQ+ travelers.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Thursday, April 24th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. I'm Ethan Williams. Thank you for joining us. Pierre Poilievre is making a stop in Saskatchewan. It's the first time the Conservative leader has come to the province during the election campaign. Aishwarya Dutta is covering Poilievre's visit in Saskatoon. Aishwarya, what's going on where you are?
Q.
Chance, can you please call?
I've been trying to call.
Okay, we appear to be having some technical issues there with Aishwarya. We hope to connect with her a little bit later in the show. In the meantime, there is some speculation that Poilievre is in Saskatoon this close to Election Day because there could be some tight races shaping up in the city, but political experts aren't so sure it's as competitive as some think it is. Jeremy Warren has more.
Well, I'm still looking at it. There's the red pill and the blue pill. And
That's how one undecided voter in the Saskatoon West constituency describes his thinking this election. Conservatives won this riding in 2021. Now, Liberals and NDP hope to flip the seat.
I just want somebody that just, care about the people. And the neighborhood is changing very fast. But it's changing in a way where, it's out of control. It needs to be controlled where everybody can feel safe.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is making an appearance in Saskatoon Thursday. Liberal leader Mark Carney and NDP leader Jagmeet Singh have also campaigned here. Recent polling suggests a rise in Liberal support here could mean close races in two ridings. But one political expert says the Conservatives are still the likely favorite.
A lot of vote moving to the Liberals might not have the same effects that it might, say, have in suburban Toronto because the Conservatives already had a quite significant lead. But you never want to say never with respect to parties like the Liberals, especially in an election like this, where you have a surge in Liberal support in a place where the Liberals haven't historically been competitive.
Westlake says he'd be shocked if the Conservatives lose Saskatoon South. Saskatoon University and Saskatoon West are tighter races. But a lot has to go right for the Liberals to steal seats from the Conservatives.
If the Liberals are having an outstanding night, if all of the NDP vote essentially is moved behind the Liberals and the Conservative vote dips a bit, then maybe they could win Saskatoon West. But we're talking about scenarios on the edges here. We're not talking about most likely scenarios here.
So there's a lot at play as to who will win Saskatoon's ridings. We'll find out when the votes are counted Monday night. Jeremy Warren, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Saskatchewan's new police force is getting ready to launch in less than 2 weeks. The Marshals Service will focus on rural crime, gangs, guns, and drugs. But to do that work, it needs police officers. Several of them were sworn in Thursday in Prince Albert, and Dan Zakreski was there.
As a marshal of the Saskatchewan Marshals Service,
they come from different policing backgrounds, but now they're all wearing the same colors, the green and blue of the Saskatchewan Marshals Service. The first 10 boots-on-the-ground members were sworn in on Thursday.
Your day-to-day motivation, persistence, and dedication, even at times when there was negativity, speaks to your character and your dedication to ensure the SMS meets the expectations of the public that we serve.
Questions have surrounded the service since it was announced in 2022. Where will the officers come from? How much will it cost? Will it conflict with other police services? We know some of the answers. We know it's supposed to cost $20 million a year to run. That 17 to 20 officers will be hired by the time the service launches on May 5th, a full year ahead of schedule. And that 70 officers will be on the payroll by the end of next year. It will have jurisdiction throughout the province and will support RCMP, First Nations, and municipal police services.
A lot of our communities are under fire and we need help, and we are really in a dire need to make these changes, or else we don't know what's the future for our communities. Some of our communities are in very, very bad shape right now, and with the drugs and the overdoses.
Josh Peterson is one of the new members sworn in today. He worked 18 years with the Prince Albert Police. He says the draw with the Marshals is that they're not tied to a city. They can go where the trouble is.
Rather than waiting for something terrible to happen within the city limits of Prince Albert, now I can respond anywhere in the province that needs our help, and I just really look forward to that.
The Marshals Service regional headquarters is in North Battleford, and that will open in the fall. Until then, the 10 members sworn in today will work out of here. Dan Zakreski, CBC News, Prince Albert.
Okay, we've reconnected now with CBC's Aishwarya Dutta, who is covering Pierre Poilievre. Aishwarya, what is going on where you are?
Well, Ethan, supporters started coming in even way before we got here. The crowd's starting to get bigger and bigger. A lot of blue, as you can see behind me. People are holding signs, they're wearing merch, and Poilievre is holding a rally here. We're at Biz Hub Industrial Park. It's near the Saskatoon International Airport. The Conservative leader has held these types of rallies across the country, drawing in thousands of supporters. He stopped in Halifax before coming here earlier today. There he promised to scrap the electric vehicle sales mandate. But Saskatchewan is a pretty safe province for the Conservatives. All 14 ridings have been represented by the party since 2019. There are a few ridings, though, that the Liberals are hoping to flip. That's including the Regina-Wascana riding and the Desnethé-Missinippi-Churchill River. Liberal leader Mark Carney, of course, has been here in Saskatoon earlier this month while he was on campaign, and so has NDP leader Jagmeet Singh. I also want to mention that Carney and Singh, when they were here, media were able to interview party supporters that showed up to their events. And we're doing the same here. We're trying to talk to people, and they're saying they're here to support Poilievre, and they're here to support the Blue.
Aishwarya, thank you very much. CBC's Aishwarya Dutta reporting from Saskatoon. Regina police say they are investigating the death of a man that happened just east of the city's downtown. Officers were called to the 800 block of Victoria Avenue around 5:30 Thursday morning. That's where they found the man injured. He died shortly after. Major crimes investigators are still trying to figure out how he died. Victoria Avenue was closed in both directions for much of Thursday morning, but has since reopened. The CBC Ask team has been looking at viewer questions about the federal election, and some of you have asked if using a pencil can easily lead to ballot tampering. The short answer, you can use a pencil or pen to vote. Avneet Dillon has more.
There have been some false claims circulating online about voting in Canada, so let's do a quick fact check. The first claim is that ballots marked with a pencil can be easily tampered with. That's false. Once you drop your ballot into the ballot box, it's only unsealed when it's time to count the votes on election day. There are no counting machines involved in Canada's federal election, and you can't vote online. All ballots are counted by hand at every polling station. The votes are counted by election workers in front of witnesses. They're never alone. Those witnesses don't work for Elections Canada and are often party representatives. Elections Canada has a video on its YouTube channel that goes through every step of this process.
The vote counting process is entirely designed to be transparent and reliable.
And as long as there's a mark beside a candidate's name, even if it's smudged, the vote counts. Here's some of the different ways you can mark your ballot. You can draw an X, a check mark, or fill in the circle entirely. But if you mark more than one candidate or write your name on it or any other name, your ballot will be rejected. Another claim circulating online is that Elections Canada only lets you use a pencil to mark your ballot. That's false. Poll workers are required by law to provide voters with black lead pencils, but you can also bring your own pen or pencil to mark your ballot. Elections Canada says it uses pencils because pens can dry up or leak, and an ink leak could end up spoiling your ballot. But you can absolutely ask an election worker for a pen instead or bring your own. And if your pen does leak and spoil your ballot, you can ask for a replacement ballot, but you can only do that once. If you have an election question or you see something you want us to fact check, email us at ask@cbc.ca.
Okay, so now that you know how you can mark your ballot, CBC News has you covered for election night on Monday. Chief political correspondent Rosemary Barton will be hosting with minute-by-minute updates as polls close across the country. That is starting at 4:30 p.m. local time here in Saskatchewan, wherever you watch CBC News. And of course, we will have all the Saskatchewan results for you on our website. That's cbc.ca/Sask. Well, it is almost time to hit the links. This weather sure feels like it. Some golf courses in both Regina and Saskatoon will open Friday. For Regina golfers, that's both the Murray and Tor Hill courses. And Saskatoon golfers can tee off at Holiday Park, Silverwood, and Wildwood courses. Now, Helena Mahalik will tell us if the good golfing weather will continue in her full forecast when we come back. Canadian travel to the U.S. has dropped in recent months, much of it due to a weak Canadian dollar and threats of tariffs and attacks on Canadian sovereignty from President Donald Trump. But some of that drop in travel is also because of policies affecting the 2S LGBTQ+ community. Liam O'Connor has that story.
I am going to talk about being trans a lot tonight. Yeah.
Transgender comedian Ava Val is in Saskatoon for a stand-up show. She had plans for a North American tour, but due to the growing restrictions and concerns affecting trans people, she canceled the American leg.
In the current administration, it just seemed like more and more hostility was just developing towards trans people. And Rubio openly sent a memo that was like, border agents, feel free to use your discretion to discriminate against trans people if you want.
Canadian travel to the United States has plummeted. The number of cross-border travelers going from Canada to the U.S. in March was down nearly 900,000 compared to the same month last year. The reasons for that vary, everything from people trying to pinch pennies to fear of beefed-up border security to anger over Donald Trump's 51st state comments. But there are also people in the 2S LGBTQ+ community facing their own challenges with cross-border travel, like the Two Spirits CEO of Regina's Mackenzie Art Gallery, who has dual citizenship and tried to renew their U.S. passport.
I sent that in nice and early, but fortunately, it apparently not early enough because it got held on to for quite a while.
President Donald Trump declared in his inaugural address that the official policy of the United States government would only recognize two genders, male and female. An executive order bans the use of the X gender marker on passports for non-binary people. And as a result, when Hampton got their passport back, it wasn't the same.
I got it back. I got a little letter with it saying that my gender marker had been changed from the X to the M.
Hampton has since traveled to the U.S. without any problems. As for Val, she had hopes to move to the U.S. to further her comedy career. But now, she's avoiding the country altogether.
You know, I don't need to go down there anymore.
For sure.
I don't want to go where nobody wants me. Fine. I'll make it on my own. I'll go to Saskatoon.
Liam O'Connor, CBC News, Saskatoon.
And the discrimination of people in the 2S LGBTQ+ community in Canada is the focus of a new exhibit at the RCMP Heritage Centre in Regina. Love in a Dangerous Time explores the history of policies that outed and targeted 2S LGBTQ+ employees of the Canadian government. Between the 1950s and 90s, there were around 9,000 documented incidents of public service members being fired because of their sexuality. The exhibit features the story of Michelle Douglas, a Canadian military police officer who lost her job in the late 1980s.
Even though I was top of my class, I eventually was hauled in by the very police I worked for within the military, interrogated for many days, and ultimately fired. The words on my release document, not advantageously employable due to homosexuality.
Douglas later successfully sued the government over her dismissal, formally ending the discriminatory practice across the entire military in 1992. Love in a Dangerous Time will be on display at the RCMP Heritage Museum until the end of May. And weather specialist Helena Mahalik joining us now for a look at the forecast. A no jacket kind of day, Helena.
Definitely not a day for jackets. It was so beautiful here in Saskatoon, and I know that most of the province was feeling that really beautiful weather with that sun. So let's take a look at just how warm things got in south and central Saskatchewan. Temperatures in those nice plus teens in much of south and central Saskatchewan. Places getting up to plus 16 or even plus 17, so getting closer to that plus 20 mark. And as you'll see later, we will be climbing up to that in the coming days. Same thing in the Churchill region. They were feeling pretty warm as well, above the plus 10 mark there. The far north, not quite as warm, hovering just above the plus 5 mark. That's because there was a chance of flurries in that region throughout the day. But as for Thursday evening, we're not seeing too much activity in the province, just some chance of rain in the southeast corner near the Parkland region. That's going to be around Yorkton. So as we can see Thursday evening, that rain is going to be in Yorkton, and there is also a 30% chance of some thunderstorms in that area, but we might see some rain throughout the south in Thursday evening, but it's not going to last overnight. As we can see Friday, that is just going to be seeing clear skies. Friday early morning, we might see some cloud coverage in the north, but overall we're in for just a really beautiful day, clear skies throughout the province. Even Saturday early morning, we're just seeing clear skies. Saturday is one of our warmest days of the week here, so we're going to see nice temperatures. But by Saturday evening, we're seeing some cloud cover coming back in, seeing some rain in the northern grain belt around the La Ronge area there. And even Sunday early morning, we might see some flurries. We might see a little bit of some mixed weather activity coming into that region there. And that could progress Sunday early morning into some more flurries over there. And it's really our winds that we're going to be seeing. So up to 40 kilometers an hour winds Friday early morning. And that's going to progress Friday evening as we see winds all across the province, up to 50 kilometers an hour winds in the Saskatoon area. But by Saturday evening, it's going to be mostly in the southeast, so around the Estevan area could be seeing some of those winds. But we will be seeing temperatures slowly start to rise in the coming days. We're seeing a high pressure system coming in, and it's going to be lasting us the weekend, bringing us some nicer temperatures that are climbing up every single day, even getting to above the plus 20 mark, Ethan, for Saturday and even Sunday.
Okay, so no jacket yesterday, no jacket today, maybe not for the next few days then.
No jacket the whole weekend, I can tell you that for sure.
Okay, Helena, thanks so much.
Thanks, Ethan.
Well, protecting wildlife corridors has been a popular topic in Banff. It's where biologists and scientists from across the country have been taking part in a conference. Dan McGarvey has more.
The mountains stopped growing about 60 million years ago, but man-made development never stops. That can be a problem when it comes to protecting wildlife corridors.
We need all hands on deck. We need to hit people in the heart with why it's important to protect our wildlife species.
Wildlife corridors can help animals adapt to climate change, support migration and breeding, and reduce conflict with humans and traffic. This is one of the newest examples of what a wildlife corridor can be. It's small in scale, but it's an important example of keeping the landscape connected.
That works at multiple scales. It works at the scale of getting animals safely across the road right at the entrance to the mountains, as do the other ones inside Banff Park that you drive through. But it's also about keeping the landscape connected for animals so they can move and feed and find mates. So it's not just about avoiding roadkill.
The message at the conference was that everyone can play a part in helping keep wildlife moving freely in an ever-changing world.
Well, our call to action with our new project, Rite of Passage, is really to inspire Canadians to do what they can locally, to understand how animals are moving in their own communities, in their own backyards, and working collaboratively with those around them to increase connectivity.
Canadian Geographic's project includes a video and the distribution of educational materials to over 28,000 teachers across the country. Dan McGarvey, CBC News, Banff.
Well, it was 35 years ago that the Hubble Space Telescope lifted off aboard the Space Shuttle Discovery. And to celebrate, NASA has released 4 new images from different parts of the universe. The anniversary images showcase Mars, a vibrant planetary nebula, the star-forming Rosette Nebula, and the spiral galaxy NGC 5335. Hubble remains a vital tool in astronomical research. Well, people in Regina now have a more environmentally friendly way to travel around town. The city of Regina has introduced electric buses to its public transit fleet. 7 of these zero-emission buses have replaced existing diesel-powered ones. The city had first announced plans for the buses last year as part of its move towards zero-emission public transit infrastructure. The city's director of transit says the new buses will operate across various routes throughout the city.
There's quite a few other cities that do have electric buses. Saskatoon has a few, Winnipeg has some, Edmonton has some. So we've been talking to a variety of municipalities about the electric buses before we made these purchases.
And Saskatoon introduced the first electric buses in the province when they arrived last summer. Another 13 electric buses in Regina are expected to arrive next year. The city says half of the money for them comes from the federal government's Zero Emission Transit Fund. The first buses are expected to hit the streets next week. Alina's back with another look at our forecast with hopefully some nicer days ahead.
Oh yeah, Ethan, I think you'll definitely want to get outside this weekend as things are going to be beautiful in both major cities of the province. Let's take a look at how warm it's going to be. As we can see, sunny skies throughout the week in Regina and temperatures climbing up to about the +20 mark or even above by Sunday, but warm temperatures throughout the whole weekend. Temperatures dipping down by almost 10 degrees though on Monday as we see a 50% chance of rain, but those colder temperatures aren't going to last because Tuesday they're jumping right back up to those high plus teens. A few days here and there with a bit of a breeze, and overnight we're seeing above seasonal temperatures, finally getting out of that below seasonal time of the year. And in Saskatoon, same thing. We're seeing sun all throughout the week, except we're seeing rain on Sunday, and we're seeing 20 degrees throughout most of the weekend, making just for beautiful weather. Monday temperatures dropping down to that around 10-degree mark, but climbing back up the rest of the work week. A little bit of a breeze, and just like Regina, we're seeing temperatures above the freezing mark, Ethan, for most of overnight. So not quite time to garden yet, but I think soon.
Yeah, coming very quickly. All right, looks like a great forecast. Helena, thanks so much.
Thanks, Ethan.
And that is it for us. For more news anytime, you can always head to our website, cbc.ca/sask, or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. And of course, you can also download the CBC News app on your smartphone or tablet for the latest news anytime. Thanks so much for watching.